Hey everybody, this is David Skrika. This is stock chart of the day. Uh, so what we're going to look at today in okay, first of all, I know that some of you didn't really like the link to the webinar. So this is the landing page kind of for my new publication. So if you want to scroll, it's a bunch of promotional material, and then we've got um a monthly um uh an annual fee. I think it's only 17 a month and like 150 for the year. So yeah, we got research reports, got all this stuff. And then of course the webinar, what they're doing, they're going to put a link to the webinar with a link to sign up before, and I'll probably fire that out on Wednesday. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you that, so we're going to look at some of the markets here. I think some of the things going on here are very interesting today. You know, especially if we go look at the semiconductors, I've talked about the semiconductors being the epicenter of this bubble. So let's look at the short and long term of the semiconductors. Let's go look at a 25-year chart, and we'll take the log scale off. So you can see, first of all, the long term, the parabolic curve that I talk about. And I talk about how all parabolic curves collapse, and all parabolic curves collapse. And look at this thing has gone way farther than I've ever thought imaginable. Like I laugh at myself sometimes because I started turning bearish on the markets in 2015, and the semiconductor stocks, and I haven't been bearish the whole time since, but when I did turn bearish, are 10 times higher since. Like, wow, this bubble went way out of whack than everything I ever believed. So, but you can see it does really look like it's hard for me to see this parabolic move and this blow off and that euphoria that combined with NVIDIA really taking hold, or really like taking hold again. Maybe there could be a move up into the fourth quarter. I don't know. But first of all, now we're in that September, October period where we can see crashes, we can see corrections. Last year, even an up year for the market, we saw a correction from late August to late October. So that's the sort of thing that we're looking at here. So let's go look at the log scale, and let's go get a shorter term chart. But it looks to me like, again, that's the longer term, which shows the parabolic curve. It looks like we got this big move up here. That was the final blow off. And then this decline, and this could be like a failing rally. There's this chart. Actually, I'm going to find it now. Euphoria stock market chart. Not Euphoria, the show. The show. I think that show stinks, by the way. So this is the Euphoria chart. So like you have this thrill, belief, optimism. So hope. That's kind of actually, in retrospect, when I got bearish in 2015, that's where we were. Then I think 2018, 19, we started getting here, and then now I think we're here, right? And you can see that move down, and now we're this complacency. People, because think that the market's always had this big move up, it's going to continue. And then the anxiety is when can you break those lows, and then denial, panic, anger, depression. And remember, I always talk about, these stocks, buying maximum pessimism, buying when asset markets are down lower, et cetera, et cetera. And, when they're lower, doing that. And then, that's when you kind of want to buy. And that's what we're basically, when we're buying stocks like Fubo and stuff like that, we're buying it in this, they're in this mode right now. Right. So, and this mode can last for years and years and years. But if you average in down there, you usually do pretty well. That's essentially where the market was from, say, the fall of 2008 to the spring of 2009, or it was in, say, like late 1931 to early 1933. Or a lot of the gold stocks were from like, 20, basically 15 till now. So it can take a while. And, we've seen that in, say, 3D printing stocks as well. So, you can see it does look, this rally looks like again, like this little here. It does very much look like that. So this can last a little longer, but it does kind of look like we're rolling over, and NVIDIA looks like that as well. NVIDIA, didn't really rally in those last earnings. And now the problem is, I kept saying that at some point, even though I have no position in NVIDIA, at some point it's going to be very difficult to meet these expectations. And because they were growing so fast with the AI boom, now their year-over-year revenue growth is down to like 60% from like 160% just a few months ago. So their growth rate slows, and it's tough to justify 30 times sales when, say, in 6 months' time, they'll be growing at 30 or 40%, or 20%. So that's when you see this kind of break. And And of course, if you look at SMCI, they had an issue with their 10K, and that stock's already basically broken. You can see that SMCI has already fallen from 1,200 to as low as 400. It's already basically fallen 2/3. So that might be the first stock. Usually, like, I think Lucent happened to Lucent in March or April of 2000. They tanked on earnings. Usually, some kind of stock that's a leader in the sector can break, and that really starts this kind of thing moving downwards. So, anyhow, I think the semiconductors are starting to move lower. So if we kind of you look at some puts on the SMH, or if you look at if you want to do this is the 3X bear. I've done this in the past. This could really move, but you might just want to do semi. I'll have to find a bear for the real bear fund for the semiconductor. So I just don't have it in front of me. I should have looked at this up before, and I don't want to go around because I just know the stocks because I've traded that in the past. But of course, that's 3X. So that's the day to day. But you can see, like, even when we had that little correction in semis back in here, you can see that this doubled and more than doubled in price. On a little 20 to 30% correction. So if we get if you get a 60, 70, 80% correction, which could happen in years time, this could go up 5, 6, 7X, so it's something I would put a small amount of your portfolio in, like 1%, maybe, but that's really good. This is something that you can really do well, if the semis roll over. So, and I just wanted to show you this, and it does look like, and I think, like, with the elections, I think election plays a part in this. I think either way, I could see a topping period or a move lower, because I think if Trump wins, maybe you get a bounce because they're going to be like, oh, he's going to cut taxes, he's going to do this, but the market's so expensive, maybe that bounce kind of, combined with the market already being expensive, we price all that in, and with Harris's kind of anti-growth policies, we see that as well. So anyhow, so that's basically it. So maybe, like, we see the market kind of declining into curve being put in, as well. Problem with Harris winning too is really those anti-growth policies, the taxing on the capital gains on basically assets you haven't sold yet, basically unrealized gains, the capital gains tax. You're not going to see that because the Republicans will shoot that down in Congress. So that's one thing about her anti-growth policies. You're never going to see a lot of them. You'd probably see the Trump tax cuts expire at the end of next year, but then you wouldn't see her basically reinstitute tax rate increases or anything else, because the Congress won't go along with it. So anyhow, no, but either way, it's just like the market's expensive. We've seen this kind of euphoric move, like I said, in the semiconductors, and again, we can see that chart of the semis and how it really does look like that classic chart here. And it looks like we're like right about in this mode here. We're in the complacency and we're about to roll over. And this rollover can take years. Like this rollover in the NASDAQ in 2000. Let's quickly show you before I go here. Actually, let's show you the SMH because we're already looking at semiconductors. Let's zoom in on the early 2000s. We're going to start in 1999 so we can see the bubble. We'll go to the end of 2003. And you can see, you can see the parabolic move higher, and then that topping process, and then look at that long, steep decline. How many people thought maybe here, the semis really from March of 2001 to, March of 2002 had done nothing, right? And that was a year long. And then there was that final move lower. And this was the move that really got people negative. And actually, what's interesting is the NASDAQ and some of the markets re-challenged their lows in that spring of 2003. Notice the semis were doing well, and that was a sign. And you can see they went from 40 down to 6. Do the math. That's 85%. So, that's the kind of move. We're still kind of like in this move here. And you can see that took a number of months to top out. So even if we're kind of like right now, we could be in like this kind of move, and then there could be another pop. And then there was a next move, which really lasted, you could say, a year, from about September or the summer of 2000 into September of 2001. And then there was a rally, and then this last move, which lasted like 6 months. So that's what I kind of see because of the parabolic nature of this. And again, you can see the total, again, we go back to that chart. You can see the complacency bounce, the long decline, and then the move higher. Remember, it took, these things can take years. Okay, you did okay buying semis in 2002, 2003 for a few years. But if we go out to 2009, and this will end off here, you can see semiconductors actually went below the 2002 low. So they were good. Like when you're buying that post bubble bursting bounce, by the way, really you want to hold about a year. This is about right. Like late 2002 to late 2003, that was a great time to buy. They more than rallied 100%. That was easy money. You know, many other stocks, like let's go look at our favorite stock, NVIDIA, during that time frame. And you can see NVIDIA here, you know, went from, you know, this is obviously post split, you know, went from, you know, 5 cents to 20 cents. Now, eventually it did go to 70 cents, but, you know, that first year was pretty good, man. You made about, you know, 3 to 4 times on your money. And of course, ultimately, you actually made 10 times if you would have held during that bull market. But, and again, NVIDIA at the bottom in 2008 was 75% lower than it was in its 2001, 2000 top. And actually 2000, if you just sold NVIDIA with the rest of the market, you would still been down over 50%. So these things can take a while when the bubble bursts. We've seen that 3D printers. So I thought I'd show you this. It looks like we are into the euphoria, that classic chart, and we're kind of in that complacency phase in the semiconductors. And I think that over the next few years, they will continue to move lower.